Some days ago, I decided to take another look at the budget, and I decided to focus on revenue generation. The prognoses are very scary. It's worrying. Any government, anybody in power at this moment should be worried on what is going to happen. How are we going to manage this calamity? About 428 ministries, departments and agencies of federal government may not be able to pay salaries by the end of this month. That's very scary. And the reason is not far-fetched. Government is running out of cash. The dwindling revenue from all sources other than borrowing is a major issue for any designing government. In the 2021 budget that we are talking about, the total budgeted revenue from both oil and non-oil source sector is exactly 3.5 trillion. Barely enough to meet the debt service obligation of 3.2 trillion. You have to remember that debt servicing obligation is fixed. You have to pay. But revenue is a budget. It may not happen. And if you look at the entire revenue from all sources, it cannot completely fund any major expenditure heading, be it recurrent, non-recurrent capital, or even debt servicing. As a matter of fact, what the government is expected to borrow in 2021 almost double the expected revenue projection. This is really scary. However, rather than continuing to lament and cry, I would just want us to go to the very question that you have asked. What should government do? And they need to just do three things very, very quickly. The very first one is very simple. We need a versatile and robust tax legislation. Tax is what citizens of civilized countries pay to develop their country. Our current tax legislation is rooted in the traditional way of doing business. It is already dated. We need a robust tax system that can track taxable income in the digital economy. The second thing that government needs to do very quickly is to deploy technology. Our tax administration is still manually driven. The time and effort required to file tax returns in Nigeria is more than what is required to open a bank account. The process is very complex and unnecessarily tedious. For instance, a non-resident digital company is required to prepare and submit multiple audited financial statements, one for itself and one for the PE, just for the purpose of filing tax returns in a year. In France, India, Turkey, South Africa, similar digital companies, we only need to pay a percentage of their turnover, not even profit, for the same purpose. So, government just needs to also address the issue of tax administration. Like I said, the very first one is the tax legislation itself. It needs to be revised. We need a more robust, a more modern tax legislation. And now the process of implementation, the tax administration, should also be more robust. And finally, there is need for greater and absolute transparency in finance aspects of governance. This will encourage and motivate compliance. Developed nations thrive in citizens warming up to pay their taxes without being prompted before they perform their civic obligation. This is an era of information superhighway. Government should key into it in order to provide up-to-date information to Nigerians, who will now in turn support governance through tax payment. So I repeat again, three things government needs to do. We need to reverse our tax legislation to be more modern, to be more digital-based. Secondly, we need technology to drive the process. Tax administration needs to have the technology-based system to run it. And finally, there's transparency. People will quickly want to pay more tax if they know how the tax is spent and that it is being spent judiciously.